G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today, I'm pretty sure I've got what is quite literally the best lineup in the whole of War Thunder for Ground RB. I think this is the best because it has certain qualities that no other lineup at its tier has. It has a fast tank, it has a well-gunned tank, or a tank with a good gun. It has a tank that is decently spaced, and that is reasonably survivable. It has good CAS, and multiple options for so, and it also has one of the best fighters of its tier. This is 3.3 Germany, and I'm honestly convinced that this is one of the, if not the flat-out, period, best lineup ever. First, we're going to start off with the Pack Wagon. Now, the Pack Wagon you can get on the marketplace now. You used to be able to get it in an event, and hopefully they make it available for an event very soon because it is an extremely good tank. It combines great maneuverability with excellent firepower, and you really don't need to get hit in this thing. If you play it smart, you just won't get hit, and you won't get killed at all. You can see here that I've put an extremely advanced take. I've gone and taken the Monument. And the important thing about the Monument is, well, first of all, the cap is on it. And second of all, I can go and deny the capture point that is being capped. I can also deny the road from spawn to the A cap, which is where that M10 meets Grisly Fate. I pop another shot in because I see a bunch of smoke and I'm assuming that there is a tank in that midst, but no dice. Now, what I'm going to do here is pretty much try and defend the A cap from a forward position. And I can do this because I have a metric arse ton of mobility. This tank, or this tank destroyer, this wheeled tank, or whatever you want to call it, the Pack Wagon, has incredible levels of maneuverability and mobility, and that is what makes a tank in War Thunder amazing. You can see here, this BT-7 doesn't know what's hitting him. I just sort of waltz around the corner, he can't turn the turret in time, or level the gun, and there he goes, in a ball of flame. He would have gotten me in one shot, but I'm able to get the first shot off, and that is really what counts with War Thunder. If you can get that first shot and, make a move that allows you to sort of sneak around the side of Shermans like that, you have incredible power in your hands. Now, I am playing with a 4-man squad, and these guys are on my Discord, and we had a pretty good play day. We just sat around for a couple of hours, played a couple of different battle ratings. Some of them you'll see on the channel soon enough, but this particular one, we tried to get a bunch of people into this tier. We only got the 4-man squad, so, it's okay. We had some good times, and this is one of those battles. Now, here I'm going to go and advance a little bit. This is a little bit risky because you can see there's no one with me. If you look at the mini-map, I'm pretty much alone, and what I want to do is I want to flank whatever killed my teammate that was sort of guarding A. Now you can see I take a blind shot there into the Matilda, and because the Matilda has its side angled towards me, it's still quite protected. Now the Matilda is a good, well-protected tank, and you can see me there shooting straight through that building. These buildings, these little sheds, they're like, you can shoot through them, and a lot of people call you out for wall hacks when you do this. It's absolutely hilarious. There's one on Berlin, near the canal, near the trench, and there's also another one on Advance to the Rhine, which you can see here. I believe there are a few others around different maps, but if you see one of these sheds, don't treat it as hardcover, because, like that Matilda, you'll end up with a bit of a grisly fate. Now, as for myself, I have met myself a little Chaffee, and the Chaffee is served up a very hot 75mm shell. So, I'm going to do the same for him. Well, maybe not necessarily him, but anyone else who decides that they want a tank. Well, this is the Heinkel B3 Duck. Now, I personally don't really like this thing, and you'll see in a moment why, but the Duck itself is one of the really, really good CAS planes at this tier. Obviously, that doesn't mean that I have to like it, but out of personal preference, you can say the Duck is one of my least favorites. I would much rather something with bombs than something with guns. Unless it comes with a 30mm MK103, then I'm more than happy to take it. But the Duck here is one of those tanks or tank busters that really has some good capabilities, especially in simulator battles. It seems to be one of those planes that's just really, really slow, but carries so much armament, and you can tell it's just such a fat thing. It is so fat, and it is just thick. It's a thick boy. And it's got a big whopping 75 that I guess I just can't aim. You can see there, I'm having trouble pulling up. And there is a plane. There is a fighter plane. I don't know what it is, but it's a fighter plane nonetheless, and I don't really want to engage it. On the other side, my squad mates are going to take the ACAP, and I want to make sure that whatever is on the ACAP is dead. So I'm going to try and get a couple of shots out. I take 1 shot, 2 shot, and completely miss, completely butcher it, and compress straight into the ground. Not a good sign. I don't like the Duck because it compresses. It's one of those tanks. Tank busters. Planes. Doesn't matter what it is, it compresses. And now we're getting into the real meat and veg of the lineup. The medium tank. The Panzer IV F2 is, in my opinion, one of the worst tanks, or worst offenders, for being under-tiered. Yes, that's right, I said it. I think this plane is ridiculously good. And a lot of people will unlock this tank and they'll say, well, no, it's terrible because, it's got no armor, it's got no stabilizer, the Sherman beats it out 1-to-1. Yes, that's true. But the Sherman has armor against things like the T-34. It has armor against the KV-1. It has armor against the Panzer IIIs. But as soon as you move up to that 75mm anti-tank gun, there is no such thing as Sherman armor. Unless, of course, you're talking about the Jumbos, but that's another story. The Panzer IV F2 easily has one of the best guns in the entire game that somehow, for some reason, bounces off the back of a Valentine. It doesn't really matter, because the combination of the good penetration, the high caliber, and the good reload, well, it's higher caliber than the British. The British, a lot of the tanks get 57 and... those sort of 40mm type cannons, and they're not quite as strong. The 75mm cannon is absolutely dominant at this tier because it is just simply amazing. The German one is easily the best one, and this rings true all the way up to about battle rating 5.3. You can see here I'm looking down this hill, and you can see that there is a little dot, and that turns out to be a T-60 tank. I nail him right in the face. My God, I love this gun. The Panzer IV F2, combined with this 75, the chassis, the maneuverability, if you will, is insane. It gets good mobility for a relatively well-spaced tank. If you hit with anything less than 75mm APHE, if you hit with 57, for example, or sometimes even the solid shot, things like this will tend to not kill the tank in one shot if you hit the wrong spot. And being a German tank, you can angle it because of the boxy design. Now, the boxy design works in two ways. You don't have great armor all around, but when you angle it a little bit, that increases. But on top of that, you might think, well, it's a Panzer IV. It doesn't really have armor, and you would be right. But I will say this. The Panzer IV is a spaced out tank, and if you angle the individual modules inside, for example, if you angle the driver relative to the gunner relative to the loader, the transmission relative to the engine, you won't lose all your components in one go. You'll lose some of them. You'll lose certain things, but you won't lose the entire tank, and this sets you up to be either rescued by one of your teammates or something like that. There is a potential for you to continue fighting. And in War Thunder, that's huge. You can see here that this Chaffee hasn't spotted me, and I just managed to pop a shot into the top of his tank. I take the smallest pixel shot, and I can make a go out of it because this tank is just incredible. The gun is out of this world. Honestly, it is viable all the way up to 5.3. You can take out T-34-85s without a problem. In fact, you can probably take out 6.3 tanks and so without much of an issue. This gun, I believe this particular gun penetrates the lower front plate of the Chieftain, all the way at battle rating 8.3, which is obviously notoriously low, not protected at all compared to everything else it faces. But if you look at the way the Panzer IV works on the battlefield, it has everything. It has smoke, it has a good reload, it just misses angled armor and a stabilizer. But the things that it brings to the table are literally the best penetrating gun. It is probably on par with the T-34 for mobility. If not, the T-34 is less mobile than this thing. And I'm going to use that mobility to go and capture some points. But first, I can see a little I-153, and, I want to take a little pot shot at it. One of my squad mates is, having a little bit of trouble. He's going to get into a plane, and he wants that IL-2 dead, so that's no problem, really. So what I'm going to do is just take a quick shot, and this particular gun just works. It's gorgeous. It's so good. And having the Panzer IV F2 in your lineup is fantastic. It just works. I don't know what else to say about the Panzer IV, but it just works. Things like the T-34, you'll bounce off Shermans occasionally. You'll bounce off, T-34s in your Shermans, your KV-1. You're not going to reliably always penetrate it. But with the Panzer IV F2, you just will. And it just works. There's not a whole lot that any other gun can do better than at this tier. Like, what else is there? There's the 57mm gun. There are a couple of, high caliber guns that can, penetrate more at range, but they're low velocity. Honestly, nothing really compares to the 75mm gun on the Panzer IV F2. Now, you might be thinking, why am I constantly, running back and forth between these caps? I should sort of stay and defend one, because the enemy team have just captured A. And here we are, in the long-standing battle, I guess, of Advance to the Rhine. I captured B, or it is B, but at the cost of A. Isn't it lovely? It's just, it reminds me of a meme that I saw a couple of weeks ago. It's, I believe it was Thanos saying, I captured the A point. What did it cost C? And indeed, that's much the same throughout the whole of War Thunder. But it's good to see that my team is on the ball today. And instead of, me sitting around going to cap that A point, I'm going to let my squad mate in the Puma go and capture that. And then I'm going to go and capture B myself. Now, you might be thinking, what is that tank destroyer there just south of B doing? And yes, he's not even backing up into the cap. So you know what? I'm going to go and do it. Bugger it. I'm doing it because no one else bloody well will. So here we are, running back and forth. And this tank is actually really mobile. On roads, 42 kilometers an hour, that's pretty damn good, to be honest. I don't know many other tanks that will regularly do 42 kilometers per hour. Even some of the, better gunned tanks at this battle rating, or at other battle ratings rather, don't really pull that much on roads. It's one of those tanks that's it's just good. And it's just one of those things that will honestly never sort of fade out unless it's, brutally up-tiered to, 4.7. But honestly, I don't think it would be that poorly match-made at 4.7. I mean, you can use this tank all the way up to 5.3 in my opinion. Any long 75 you can just comfortably chuck at 5.3 and it won't have any problems. Of course, the jumbos, but at the same time you have ways to get around them, especially if you're, a little bit mobile. This lineup in general is just absolutely fantastic. And if you want to make it even better, you can up tier yourself to 4.0 or 3.7 so that you have access to the Wirbelwind and the Panzer IV G, which is almost just as good as the Panzer IV F2. It's not quite as mobile because it's a little bit fatter, but it is almost just as good. And that gun is the main focus of the tank. You can pretty much penetrate anything that you want from any range that is not a jumbo. And I find that incredible. That is just one of the absolute gems of this battle rating. And you know what? If you don't like the Heinkel, like I do, the Henschel, you can use the Ju-88. You can use something else, and you will have an absolute blast. Germany 3.3 to 4.0 is easily the best battle rating in the entire game. Anyway, ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.